Hi, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Vedic Living. Today, we will be talking about the charts of King Charles and his sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, and try and understand how the transits are working for them. So, before we go forward, I do want to remind you about my website, www.vedicliving.com. Make sure you go to my website and sign up for my free newsletter. I just sent out my March predictions, and now I'm doing sign by sign predictions. So I hope you enjoy that. So let's go ahead and look at these two charts. So first, I'm going to pull up Prince William's chart right here. And what we're going to do is we are going to look at this chart and see what's going on. So Prince William was born June 21st, 1982 at 9:03 p.m. in Paddington, England. So as you can see his chart, he is ascendant rising sign Sagittarius. He has the nodes right on the ascendant. And I always say whenever the nodes are on the ascendant, it means that you have a life of destiny. You're here to do something very big for this world. Beyond just yourself, there is something that is very humanity related that's going to transpire in your life. It's very intense. When the nodes come on the ascendant, the person's life is very intense. There are these big swings up and big swings down. So these are extreme events that happen because with the nodes being on the ascendant, every time there's a nodal return or a nodal reversal, which is every 9 years or so, there's going to be huge shifts and changes in the person's life. So he has a very, very intense chart. And as you can see, he was born around an eclipse, not exactly though, but you can see that the sun, moon, and the nodes are all together. And if you look at his chart, what's really interesting, and you will notice this trend when we go through his chart and his father, King Charles, and then when we look at Prince Harry's chart, that there's so many similarities between these three charts. So the first thing that we see for Prince William is that he has that Mars-Saturn conjunction that I talked about in my last video that I made on Michelle Obama and Donald Trump. So if you see that video, you will notice that I talked about this Mars-Saturn conjunction in detail, and Prince William just happens to have it. So this is actually a very intense connection of planets because both are malefics at the end of the day. However, it's like it's almost like two negatives make a positive because the Mars Saturn, while it can bring difficulties in the person's life, it gives them the ability to overcome those problems and really surge forward and fight for what they believe in. Because Saturn gives them the ability to do hard work and be very dedicated and diligent and have a sense of responsibility. There's sometimes there's a sense of obligation or responsibility in what they're doing. And if you notice for him, this is in his 10th house of his public status, his public image, and his career. So Mars and Saturn coming there really means that he takes this job very seriously. He knows that he's in line to become the king. He has huge responsibilities on his shoulders, and he is up for the game because Mars and Saturn together means that he will not give up. He will try to learn and become really good at what he does, and he will abide by everything, all the rules of the aristocracy, because Saturn is about rules. It's about traditions. And he has the deep sense of tradition and his duties. So this is a very important conjunction he has in the 10th house in the sign of Virgo. And incidentally, what's going to happen is his Saturn is at around 21 degrees of Virgo. And we know that the nodes today are exactly on 21 degrees of Virgo. So, Ketu going over his Saturn. And remember, the nodes, they have their effect on the person the entire time they're in that sign, although it's more intense when it's close to a planet. But they do kind of have that effect the entire time. So until mid next year, mid 2025, it looks like he has the nodes on his Mars and Saturn. What does that mean? Saturn in the 10th house can indicate the father. And it has a sense of, that taking on the responsibility, and that I need to abide by my duties kind of sense to it, right? So with the Ketu being there, he is finding it overwhelming. Ketu is not a great energy to have there. However, Ketu does bring past life karma. So he understands that there's a lot of karmic stuff here he needs to finish on this planet. So with Ketu on his Saturn, both being karmic indicators, he's actually coming up to start, doing what he's here to really achieve, which is lead this country. And, because this is in the 10th house of public image, 10th house indicates the father. When this transit started happening, Ketu does indicate loss. And that's probably around the time when King Charles was diagnosed with cancer. So there is a lot happening in this 10th house for Prince William, which is very indicative of his public image, his career, what he's here to do, rulership. And remember, Mars and Saturn, Mars ruling the 12th house, being in the 10th, 12th house rules hospitals and diseases and illness. And he's having to deal with all that for his family members. It's not been an easy time. And Saturn ruling the second house of family, there is, that very strong connection to being there for his family while they go through these difficult times. So his chart is very telling at this time, and he is in Saturn Rahu time period, which, from Saturn, Rahu goes 10 placements away, which is once again indicative of a change in career, or, taking up a new job. In regular people's lives, it's taking up a new job, but I guess for Prince William, that would be taking over more and more duties for the crown, and starting to help his father in the job, because his father is not well. So you can see it very clearly in his chart. Another indicator is that he is in the Charadasha, Gemini Charadasha of Gemini and Virgo. Gemini is his 7th house, which is his spouse. So there's a lot going on with Kate Middleton this time as well, because, being the 7th house of spouse, he's dealing with that as well. And also notice that Sun, which is the Karaka for father, is sitting in Gemini. So even from a Gemini standpoint, you can see that he's dealing with a lot in terms of his father and his spouse, which is the 7th house. And also, if you notice, he's in the Sabdasha, in the Gemini Sabdasha of Virgo. And Virgo is his natural 10th house of career. So there is multiple indicators here showing us that Prince William will be taking on more and more responsibilities in the coming 6 to 7 months. And I think particularly this eclipse that is coming up, because this April eclipse and the October eclipse this year, both are extremely intense. I will be making very detailed videos on both the eclipses, because there's going to be huge turning points in the world. And especially when you see these nodal dashas or nodal transits really affecting planets in individual charts, the eclipses are more intense for those individuals. And that is the case with Prince William, because he is in Saturn Rahu. So Rahu is there in the dashas. On top of that, in the Gemini Charadasha, he's triggering his Rahu in the 7th house, his Sun in the 7th house, which is the father. And he's triggering the Saturn Mars in the 10th house, because he's in the Virgo Sabdasha, which is, very important to notice, because if you see, both the Vamshotri Dasha and the Charadasha are matching in terms of their outcome. So what does it tell us? It tells us that he's dealing with a lot with health problems around him and family members. So the 7th house is triggered. So his spouse is having some problems, although I'm not really sure. I haven't seen in the news if they said what the issue is, but I know there's a lot going on just by looking at the chart, because of the 7th house being triggered so strongly in his chart. And also because the 10th house is indicative of the father, the 9th and the 10th house indicate the father. So the 10th house indicating the father is telling us that there is something big that's about to come up, which he will have to start taking on in terms of duties because his father is not able to do so. Another thing that you will notice in this chart is that, considering that he's in the Gemini Charadasha of Virgo containing his Atma Karaka and his Amatya Karaka. The Atma Karaka is the soul's purpose. The Amatya Karaka is the career indicator. And of course, he has that amazing Raja Yoga where both of these come together, which means that the soul is here to really make sure that it achieves its purpose through its career, which is the Amatya Karaka. Now, because he's in the Charadasha of Virgo, both these Karakas are also triggered, which means that another big indicator that he is about to come up, on the role of rulership, or take up the mantle, or really take up more responsibilities and duties to help out his father, because this is his soul's purpose and this is what he's here to achieve. Now, between October of this year, October 2024, October or November of 2024, till around the next year, so around April, May of next year, until Jupiter moves signs, we know that it's a very treacherous time in the world, because Mars will be going from Gemini to Cancer, where it's debilitated, and it'll stay in those two signs, going back and forth for almost 4 to 5 months. And this happens to be in his 8th house of death and difficulties and problems, inheritance. 8th house is inheritance, and the 7th house, which is his spouse. So this is going to be a very important time period in his life where he'll have to deal with a lot. There's a lot of stress that he'll have to deal with around this time. Now going on to King Charles' chart to just kind of see what's going on there. King Charles is a Cancer rising, Pushya Nakshatra ascendant. First of all, it's telling us a lot of stuff about his health. Okay, because you notice how he has that moon Rahu. It's amazing how Prince William and King Charles both have the luminaries, the sun and the moon, with the nodes, right? Now he has the moon Rahu in the 10th house. Now 10th house is his career, and it's his public image. It's his status, public status. And the moon being there, which is the mother, he achieved this status through his mother, right? That's what it indicates. And the moon Rahu coming together, he's a very sensitive and emotional person. Also remember, whenever the moon Rahu comes together in the 10th house, a person tends to take on more than they can deal with emotionally, because the moon Rahu kind of magnifies all the thoughts and opinions or emotions that they have beyond, what a regular person will feel. So he feels things extremely deeply, very sensitive. And at the same time, the moon Rahu being in the 10th house, he is famous, right? Moon in the 10th house makes a person famous. We know that. Now, the Queen of England, his mother, is his moon. It's in the 10th house of career and public status and his public image. Now, his sun is in the 4th house, and sun is at around 29 degrees of Libra. We know that in the end of April, there's going to be this grand conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus on April 27th. And this is going to be around April 25th to 27th. This is going to be around 27 degrees of Aries. Notice how that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is directly opposing King Charles' sun. Now, what is the sun? The sun indicates a person's life force, their ability to have the energy and the confidence to surge forward. When there are major transits on the sun, there are problems in that area. Your vitality is your sun. So it does look like he's going through a lot. In fact, I think last year when the nodes were in Aries and Virgo, it would have been exactly on his moon and his sun and his nodes. He had a nodal return last year. I think a lot of the health problems he's facing now may have originated at that point around, a year ago, and maybe gone unnoticed, because that was actually an intense time for him. And I think a lot of these things originated at that time. Now, what is going on now is, if you notice from the moon, look at the chart from the moon, you will notice that he has a debilitated Venus in the 6th house. Debilitated Venus in the 6th house, or any debilitated planet in the 6th house, gives the person a weak constitution. So by nature, he's of a weak constitution. He probably has had stomach or digestive problems, or certain diets he had to follow his whole life. Or he may by choice choose to have a restrictive diet, because the 6th house is your appetite and your stomach. So the fact that he has that debilitated Venus in the 6th from the moon, plus he has a Neptune there, which, transiting Neptune is targeting or triggering his natal Neptune. I think he is prone to being misdiagnosed. So he, probably a couple of years ago, things could have started showing up in terms of symptoms, especially when the nodes were going on his moon and his sun past couple of years. But because the Neptune is in the 6th from the moon, there is a chance that he may have been misdiagnosed, or they did not know what was going on. Now, he does have the nodes sitting right on that Venus. His Venus is at 23 degrees of Virgo. And around a month ago, the nodes were exactly on his Venus, I think around 3 weeks ago. And that's exactly around the time when the news came out that he was diagnosed with cancer, unfortunately. Now, Rahu aspecting that 6th house debilitated Venus can indicate growths that are uncontrollable. Sometimes Rahu can indicate cancer. So that is definitely another indicator that's going on there. Now, because Jupiter and Uranus are aspecting, or will aspect, his Sun, Mercury, and Ketu in the end of April, around the 25th of April, there's going to be a sudden, unexpected change in the way things are done for his career, because Jupiter and Uranus are sitting in his 10th house, transiting, right? So 10th house is your public image, it's your duties towards the country, it's your career. So Uranus, since it rules sudden unexpected events, and Jupiter rules expansion, can mean that he is making a sudden decision to do something different in terms of his career or his public image, or his status in society, something different in terms of his work duties. And another at that time will be aspecting his Sun, which is the ruler of the 2nd house, and 2nd house is considered a Maraka house. It's a Maraka placement. So there is a lot of difficulties with his health that is going on. And I think also because Saturn is ruling his 7th house, and transiting Saturn was aspecting his natal Saturn. I think his spouse, Queen Camilla, is also going through a lot at this time in terms of stress, because Saturn can bring stress. Now, because Neptune is in this mix, first of all, he has Neptune in his natal chart, 6th from the moon. On top of that, transiting Neptune is also going to start aspecting it, or it's not exactly to the degree, it is by house placement opposing it. I think there's something hidden here which is not being released to the public, and maybe things are not as they seem. So we will find out more around the eclipse timeframe, because as I said, for Prince William, for King Charles as well, this eclipse is going to be very intense. April to October timeframe is going to be very intense for King Charles. Now, if you look at the dashas, he is going through Jupiter's Sun, and Sun, of course, like I said, is a Maraka placement, Maraka planet. It's a ruler of the 2nd house, and Jupiter is the ruler of the 6th in the 6th. So again, dealing with health problems, 6th is health and healing. And Sun being in the 4th house, he has to definitely watch his heart as well, because 4th house is the heart. Now, if you look at his Chara Dasha also, we see the difficulties that he's currently going through. Because in his Chara Dasha, he is in the Dasha of Virgo Pisces. Look at where Virgo is. Virgo contains that debilitated Venus, which is 6th from the moon. So that is bringing health issues. Also, because he is in that Virgo cycle, He is from a Gemini standpoint, in Arishta Yoga at this time. In the Gemini system, the difficult time frames in a person's life happen when they are in the dasha of a sign from where the GK or the Natikaraka, the planet with the sixth highest degrees, goes 6, 8, or 12 placements away. So if I explain that, look at the sign Virgo, which is his Charadasha. From Virgo, if you count, his GK or his Natikaraka, the moon, goes 8 placements away. So he is technically in an Arishta Yoga at this time. This is a difficult time frame for him until he gets to, because this Virgo cycle will go on till the year 2028 in his life. So this is definitely a difficult time frame that he is in. And the Aries time frame is going to be even more intense because he will go into Virgo main dasha and Aries subdasha. And notice what Aries contains. It contains his GK or Natikaraka, the moon. So when he goes into this Aries time frame, which is going to be between May 2024 and April 2025, this is going to be a tough time for him. Change in career, change in his job responsibilities, and more attention needed for his health at this time. But yes, from a health standpoint, he has to be very careful between this April and next May. And it is more intense because there are 2 eclipses happening in this time frame, which will also trigger a lot of things for him. So, I hope he pulls through this, and we'll send our positive thoughts his way. Now let's look at Prince Harry's chart just to kind of confirm a lot of these things. And what is really interesting in Prince Harry's chart is his moon is at 27 degrees of Aries. I mean, that is where that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is happening in the end of April, which means there are sudden, unexpected things happening in his family life, in Prince Harry's family life, yes, but also because that moon rules the 8th house of difficulties and death and endings and inheritance, there is major unexpected things that are going to happen in that area for him around the end of April, early May. Now, the overall time frame where he will have to deal with a lot of this is going to be, and also another interesting thing, notice his Venus is exactly the same as King Charles' Venus. Prince Harry's Venus is at 24 degrees of Virgo, and King Charles is at 23 degrees of Virgo. So this is exact. So when the nodes go on the Venus, which, pretty much in the next 3 to 4 months, this transit will happen, it's going to be a very intense time for all 3 of these gentlemen, in fact, because they all have planets in that Virgo position. Now, for Prince Harry, you can see that, he has that exalted Saturn. Yes, Saturn is exalted, but it is sitting in the 11th house of older brother, older sibling, and that is Prince William. So, this tells us that there is going to be a huge responsibility that his older brother will have to take up here. And of course, Saturn also shows distance. It's probably indicative of the problems that have happened in between them in the past. So when Ketu crosses over his Venus, Prince Harry's Venus, it's in the 10th house of father. And he also has that debilitated Venus in the 10th house. So, this is difficult because Venus in the 10th house debilitated can sometimes mean difficulties in career and public status and image. There's problems there. And at the same time, when in May of 2025, April to May of 2025, Ketu is going to transit his sun at 29 degrees of Leo. So we can see these timings matching in all 3 of their charts. April 2024 till May 2025, with the most intense period being between April and October of this year. We can see that there's going to be some, especially in Prince Harry's chart and Prince William's chart, you can see with that sun, Ketu going over the sun, there is going to be some major losses happening in terms of the father. And in Prince Harry's chart, also he's in an Adishta Yoga at this time, because the Gemini system Charadasha for him is he's in Leo right now. And Leo contains that Mercury, which is his Natikaraka. So this is a tough time he's going through in terms of sixth house matters. The Natikaraka is difficulties, health-related problems, hospitals, all those issues and conflicts and legal problems and all of that. So he's dealing with a lot as well. And also, if you look at his Vamshotri Dasha, he is in Rahu Moon. Rahu Moon is 12 placements away, which is once again indicative of traveling to foreign places, yes, which he is, right, to see his father and help out. But also 12th house is indicative of hospitals. So there is problems going on where he's having to help out in the hospitals. And Rahu in his chart is in the 6th house of difficulties and health. So he is also under a lot of tremendous amount of stress at this time, for sure. So I also wanted to kind of mention about Kate Middleton's chart, especially because I saw some difficulties in her husband, Prince William's chart. And sure enough, she has that Mars-Saturn combination as well in Virgo. And it's very interesting because she has a very similar chart to her husband, Prince William. So when they go through transits, the one of the challenges when both the husband and the wife are born around the same time is that the transits affect both of them the same way, right? At the same time, they will get hit by these major transits. So with the Saturn Mars being transited in her chart, and if you notice that Saturn rules her 7th house of spouse. So again, once again, you see the responsibilities her spouse is coming into since her Saturn is in Virgo. But another thing also is, if you notice her 6th house, she has difficult planets. She also has to take care of her health in a day-to-day basis. She probably is good with her diet, and 6th house is a daily routine, your health, your overall physical constitution, your digestion. So she has Sun Ketu there, so she's very watchful of her health for sure, all her life. Now, what's happening right now is that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is going to happen at 27 degrees of Aries around the end of April. And you notice how her Jupiter transiting Jupiter in the sky will aspect her natal Sun and Ketu in the 6th house of health. So that does show that something about her health is about to come out into or going to be revealed, or she's going to be more watchful of her health, because whenever Jupiter transits the 6th house or aspects the 6th house, the person is more watchful about their health. So there is something that's going on where she is really focused on it at this time. So this was also very interesting to watch what's happening in her chart. So, overall, I think for this family, because all of them are going through these tough transits, between this eclipse, which is April 2024, till around October 2024, is going to be the most intense time for the entire family, because you can see all their planets are getting triggered at the same time. On top of that, with the dashas, the main dashas, the overall dashas ending only in May of 2025, things are going to continue on, and it won't get better till early next year, right? Because you have to come out of that dasha. So this is an intense and very challenging time for the royal family. And, all we can do is send our prayers and well wishes and positive thoughts to them for healing and quick recovery, and hopefully, get through this tough time, because the dasha has always come to an end. The transits always come to an end, and, the tough times will get over at some point, but we really need to be positive and hang in there to get through it. So hopefully, they'll be able to do that with the help of each other. That is what I had on King Charles and his 2 sons and Kate Middleton. And I'll be coming next time with the next video. And until then, I wish you very well. Thank you very much.